Getting a higher degree in meteorology is something that many students wish to accomplish in order to contribute to new exciting research and to help launch their careers. Here at Penn State, we have one of the best meteorology graduate programs in the country. Dr. Paul Mykolajtchuk is the current associate head of the program, where he oversees the about 60 graduate students here at Penn State. He points out that there are many big differences between being an undergrad versus as a graduate student.
The most obvious difference is tuition and how the money flows. So as an undergraduate, you get a tuition bill and pay it. As a graduate student, you get paid a stipend, and on top of that, your tuition is also typically paid for through what's called an assistantship. So graduate students really, in the strictest sense of the term, are professional students. Each graduate student is entrained into the research group of a faculty member, and each faculty member is really operating autonomously like an entrepreneur. Each group is basically running like a small business.
And money is also required for graduate students and the faculty members to do this exciting research. These funds are usually very competitive to get and come from a variety of different sources, including NOAA, NASA, and the National Science Foundation. Dr. Markowski also notes that how your time is spent is very different as a meteorology graduate student versus as an undergrad.
So part of your time is sitting in classes, is kind of the traditional education, but a lot of it, most of it, is actually not in the classroom. And you're just trying to solve a problem. And you're not done until you figured it out, which is very different from medical school. If you start medical school, on day one, you can look at the calendar 4 years away and circle the date when you're going to finish medical school. Graduate school, particularly a PhD, that's not the case. You're not done until you've actually come up with something innovative to solve an important problem. Sometimes that is done in as few as 3 or 4 years. Sometimes that's done in as many as 7 or 8 years.
There are many benefits to staying in school for the extra time and obtaining a graduate degree, but Dr. Markowski emphasizes that the skills you acquire by doing research might be the most valuable.
You cannot get through graduate school, master's degree or PhD, without doing some research, which requires creativity, independence, and a lot of stick-to-itiveness. There are times when you get stuck in the mud, your wheels are spinning, you bang your head against the wall, and you think, gosh, this problem has no solution. Why am I wasting my time on this? But everybody goes through that, and everybody survives that. And that actually, those skills that you develop can really pay big dividends for employment later on.
Here in Penn State's Department of Meteorology and Atmospheric Science, graduate students, along with faculty members, research a wide variety of weather-related topics.
The department is so broad in its expertise. We've got people on one end of the spectrum studying climate, things that occur on timescales of tens of thousands, maybe even hundreds of thousands or millions of years. On the extreme other end, we've got people looking at the molecular side of things in the atmosphere, atmospheric chemistry, what's called precipitation physics, how raindrops and cloud droplets form. And then everyone else is in between, which can include the study of turbulence, hurricanes, using computers to predict the weather, tornadoes like my own area, and a whole host of other things. So we've got students on all of these topics making cutting-edge contributions. They wouldn't be here in the first place if they weren't on the cutting edge.
And one of these graduate students who is currently making cutting-edge contributions is Paul Mykolajtchuk, who graduated with his bachelor's degree in meteorology from Penn State last year and is currently pursuing his master's. He gives us the student perspective about what it's like to be a grad student here at Penn State.
What it's like to be a grad student is a combination of teaching assistantships and research assistantships. So teaching assistantships are for grad students who want to get that teaching experience, and they help a professor for an undergraduate 400 level class. And a research assistantship is where you get research experience for a research project that a professor has funding for.
With a team of other grad students and faculty members, Paul is doing some exciting research about thunderstorms.
I'm currently doing research on a project that involves taking new observations and putting them into a model and seeing if that model simulates thunderstorms better than when it did not have those observations.
Paul understands the value of obtaining an advanced level degree in meteorology, and he also explains what the differences are between a master's and a PhD.
A master's degree has that 2-year experience that a lot of employers look at. There's definitely a pretty big difference between a master's and a PhD. A PhD is usually kind of centered around the idea that someone wants to go into academia. A master's degree can have more of a wide-ranging applications. Mostly people with master's degrees are helping people with PhDs, because PhDs are the ones who are initiating the work and master's degrees are kind of supplementing the work.
Paul is still keeping all of his options open for possible careers in the future, but he hopes to be working at the National Weather Service in a couple of years. For more information on Penn State's meteorology graduate program, visit met.psu.edu and click on the graduate students link on the homepage. For Weather World, I'm Jacob Morris.